Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Mundakopanishad, mantra 2.2.10. And the mantra says, Hiranmaye pare koshe, virajam brahma nishkalam, tachubram jyotisham jyotihi, tadyatma vido viduhu. And the translation is, the pure, faultless Brahman is encased, as it were, in the great golden sheath of the intellect. This pure being is the light of lights. It is known by those who have realized the self. The last three mantras, 9, 10, and 11 of this section summarize the Mahavakyam teaching already given. This mantra describes the nature and the Upalabdhi sthanam of Brahman using Panchakosha Vivekaha, Neti Neti Prakriyaha, and Druk Drushya Viveka. In the next slide, we see Panchakosha Viveka. The mantra says that Brahman or Paramatma is available in Vijnanamaya Koshaha. This Kosha is termed as Hiranmayam and Param. Hiranmayam means the most effulgent, as it reflects the consciousness. Therefore, with Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, the intellect is bright, live, and sentient. The capacity to understand and comprehend makes the intellect radiant. Therefore, mantra terms Vijnanamaya Koshaha as Hiranmayam, meaning the, and Param, the inner.
Please unmute yourself, Ramaji. You have become muted. Ramaji, unmute yourself. Ramaji, you have to unmute yourself. Hello, are you there? Ramaji?
Oh, sorry, sir.
We have to start from the beginning. I think there's a problem.
Sir, I'm not able to.
Hari Om. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvighnem Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Bhadram Karnebih Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashye Makshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangai Tushtuvagam Sastanobhihi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti Nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspat Dadhatu Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Team Param Vedanta welcomes you all for the session 4 of selected verses from Mundakopanishad. Last class, we have studied some of the selected verses, and today we will be continuing the same Mundakopanishad with some of the important verses. Today's speakers are Dr. Divakar, Dr. Vasumati, Dr. Anupama, Srimati Rama, Srimati Mamata, and Srimati Neeta. I invite Dr. Hegde sir to introduce and moderate the session. Over to you, sir.
Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Before we start our next Upanishad, the Mandukya Upanishad, which along with the Karikas is going to take us a long time, we decided to revise what we have studied earlier from the Upanishads, important verses from the Upanishads. And in the last class, we studied a selection of some important verses from the Mundakopanishad. And in today's class, we will have another 5 to 6 mantras again from the Mundakopanishad. Almost all the mantras that we have selected today come from the second section of the second chapter. Each one of these mantras are Mahavakyas and therefore considered as extremely important mantras. How to learn from our own experiences? We generally don't learn from our experiences for two reasons. Whenever there are problems, our minds are disturbed. So whenever there are unpleasant situations, we are so disturbed that our mind is not available for learning. When it is pleasant experience, it has been very nicely said, like nothing fails like success. You are so swept away by the wave of success that we don't learn at all. So we can really learn only when our mind is calm, and particularly from unpleasant situations. So one of the important things in order to be able to learn is to be able to have a calm mind. How do we make that? Because whenever we go through disturbing or upsetting situations, one clue or one suggestion is devotion to God. Whenever there is an attitude of bhakti, and this process of bhakti, through process of upasana, the mind automatically becomes calm. In addition, we become more sensitive. And when a person becomes sensitive, you learn not only from your experiences, but from the experiences of others. We learned in the last class about this key mantra from the Mundaka, the Pariksha Lokan. That means whenever we go through unpleasant experiences, if we take a pause to look into our life and say, what is that which I have achieved? And then we realize that whatever we do from a worldly angle can never be absolutely fulfilling. Tad vignartam sa gurumeva abhigachet. Because it is only a guru that will help us to go beyond. And that is where all of us are. Once we come to a guru's field, we learn a few things. That only in a human birth can we hope for liberation. Moksha is possible, should be our goal of life. Moksha is possible only through spiritual knowledge or jnanam. Jnanam is possible through the help of Shastras, and Shastras become meaningful through the help of a guru. So those of us who have done this Pariksha Lokan, those of us who have gone through some amount of upasana that has calmed our mind and brought us to a guru, we have got spiritual knowledge. And once we have got spiritual knowledge, so that is where when we come to a guru, this mantra we studied last time. The student who comes to a guru comes with a very relevant or a very pertinent question. I know you know everything. Can you please tell me what is that worth knowing? That is the whole theme of the Mundakopanishad, and we are looking at all the answers for this particular question. The question is, what is that knowledge? If I have that knowledge, I will have complete fulfillment in life. There will be no frustration. I will be able to overcome all human problems. So the teacher begins the answer by saying, there are two kinds of knowledge. One is called apara vidya, and apara vidya is all forms of worldly knowledge, which of course is important for us to survive in this world, to earn a living, to take care of ourselves and our families. But then the teacher says there is another knowledge, which is the knowledge about our true self, and that is called paravidya. What is this paravidya? Paravidya can be classified into 6 things. Who am I? The first question. Who is this Jiva? I see a world around me which I can call as not me or anatma or jagat. I do not know about this world around me. If I am there and if this world is there, there must be someone who has created it. Who is this Ishvara or Paramatma? And then as you look into the world and as you examine your life, you see there are so many problems, which you call as bandha. Is there a way out? The answer is moksha. And what are the techniques to move? So when you come to a spiritual teacher, this is the kind of knowledge that we are really looking for. And this is what we have been spent for so much of our time. And fortunately, our teachers have given us this knowledge. Our teachers have told us, this is a quote from the Viveka Chudamani, which says, Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha. 3 things are extremely difficult to get. All the 3 we have. What are the 3 things? To be born as a human being, to have this burning desire for revelation, and also the access to a Mahapurusha, a Guru. Now, when you have all these 3 things, we are dhanyaha, we are blessed. And to those blessed people that I am speaking, can we make this commitment that let me make the most of this opportunity? Let me be able to get Brahma Vidya. Now, a spiritual journey is a U-turn. Just like a river is taking a bend, it is coming back to the source. And once you come to a guru, the guru takes us through various stages, through various exercises. The guru knows one thing for sure. Although he has spiritual knowledge, he is not able to give it to us because he knows we do not have the eligibility or yogyata. So in order that our mind is ready for spiritual knowledge, the teacher initially gives us a few sadhanas called karma yoga and upasana yoga, which we need to do over a period of time so that our mind is sensitized and receptive for spiritual knowledge. As the mind is getting receptive, the teacher gives us this knowledge, which is called jnana prapti. Fortunately, all of us have a certain amount of yogyata. We have got this knowledge. We are all in the 3rd stage, and the exercise that we need to do is nididhyasana. And what is nididhyasana? We remember when we studied that great text of Panchadashi, the 7th chapter of Panchadashi, we studied this verse, which is a wonderful definition of nididhyasana. This quote Vidyaranya Swami gives from Yoga Vashishta. And this is a definition of what is nididhyasana, and that is our spiritual exercise that we need to do day in and day out, all the time. Even now when we are waking. And the quote goes like this, Tat Chintanam. Whatever you are thinking about should be spiritual knowledge. And what is that? I am Brahman. I am Atma Brahman. My thoughts should be soaked in the fact that this body-mind is only an instrument, but my thoughts are, I am Atma Brahman. That this body is only a seat where the great Lord, the Atma, is seated. Today, in all these verses, we will see the body is only the temple, which is the temple, and the deity is the Atma. So Tat Chintanam is all the thoughts are centered on the Mahavakya, I am Atma Brahma. Whenever I speak to anybody, Tat Kathanam, whatever I speak to is only about this. Anyom Tat Prabodhanam, exactly what we are doing now. Whenever we have an opportunity, we awaken each other's about Prabodhanam means to awaken us that I am Atma Brahman, you are also Brahman. And therefore, let this fact be something that we need to constantly remind ourselves. I am not this body, I am not this mind. My body-mind is only an instrument that helps me to be able to realize and experience I am Atma Brahma every moment of my life. Etad eka paratvam cha. Other than this thought, no other thought should be able to entertain in mind. So dwell on this teaching in one way or the other, and that should be a life of Nidityasanam. And this will pave us to what is called a Jivan Muktihi. What is Jivan Muktihi? While I am in this body, and this body is tethered with a lot of limitations. As body, I have so much of limitations. As mind, we know all kinds of limitations that we have. But I have discovered that in spite of the limitations of my body, in spite of the limitations of my mind, I am an oasis of Shantaha. I am secure. I am Purna. I am Ananta. And I am so full of myself, Atman eva Atmana Tushtaha. That means if anything happens to this body or to my mind or to the world around me, I am not so adversely affected as I was before. And even if I'm affected, I'm able to recover fully. Now, the teachers are given this opinion that I am limitless. But what is my experience? I am limited. So I need to move from that feeling that I am a limited person to that knowledge that I am limitless. Every experience tells us about our limitations, but what is the knowledge? Tat chintanam, tat kathanam, anyon, tat prabodhanam. I am Purnamada, I am Purnamidam. All the mantras that we study today are an echo or an elaboration of this particular mantra, which is very similar to the Purusha Suktam. Purusha eva idam vishwam. Purusha means that indweller, that which pervades everything which is also in my heart. That indweller itself has become this whole world, including my body and mind. Purusha eva idam vishwam karma tapa brahma paramritam. That Purusha is none other than Brahman. That Purusha is Param, the highest. That Purusha is immortal. Therefore, I am immortal. And this immortal I itself has become this whole world. Now, how do I know this? Yetad yo veda nihitam guhayam. How do I recognize this? I need to recognize this. Now, although I am everywhere, I need to recognize it in this physical body, in this heart. So you will see all the verses almost are going to echo this. And then once this knowledge happens, this is the Purnatvam. So avidya grantim, that ignorance in my heart is broken. Vikirati, Isomya, oh dear one, that is what is moksha. That is Purnatvam, that is liberation. And all the mantras that we speak are going to speak about Brahman alone appears as this world. I need to discover that Brahman, which is the essence of me and the essence of the whole world. In the last class, we spoke about what is that Eka Sara Nitya Satya, Eka, the one, Sarvagataha, which is everywhere. That which in me is permanent. My body mind is changing, but there is some non-changing. Satya, that means it is independently existing. And you will discover something amazing, that there is something called existent. When you say there is a man, there is a table, there is a computer, everything around me, including my knowledge or my ignorance, is there. It is existent. What is that which is existent? What is Sat Brahman? So we will study that in a different way when we come to Mandukya. In Mandukya, you will see the original Atma splits into the observer and the observed. For the time being, we can take that as consciousness and existence. The one that is aware, the experiencer, and the experienced. So the whole world is Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam or Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. In other words, what we are saying is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. There is only one truth, and that one truth is Brahman. It is there in me as the Jivatma, and it is around me as Paramatma. Dr. Devakar, please.
Thank you, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We know that the Gnana Yoga consists of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. With Shravanam, we know that through Acharya and of course Shastras, there is eternal Atma and ephemeral Anatma. So there is Atma, Anatma, Viveka, the discerning ability between Atma and Anatma. But the Nididhyasanam is identifying with the Atma. So to do that, there are some prakriyas which are taught in the scriptures. One of the prakriyas is Panchakosha Viveka. We will see in this particular mantra, Panchakosha Viveka is taught through the example of the wheels and the hub. Ara iva rathanabhyo samhata yatra nadyah sa yeshontarascharate bahudha jayamana omityevam dhyayata atmanam swastivaha paraya tamasah parastat. Sir talked about Purusha Suktam. Tamasah parastat also comes in Purusha Suktam. This mantra helps us in shifting our attention from the variable changing mind, body-mind complex, changing Anatma, to the non-variable Chaitanya Tattvam, which is Atma. Here, Upanishad takes an example of a wheel and the spokes and hub to explain how we can shift from the focus from the Anatma to Atma. In the next slide, we see Ara iva ratanabhyo samhataha. Araha means spokes. Just as the spokes of a wheel or rathanabhyo samhataha fixed onto a hub of a wheel. Similarly, yatra in the hrudayam, which is the hub of the individual, nadyaha samhataha. The crisscrossing nadis or the connections of the body are connected to the heart. Trace the leads and come to the heart. So here, body is compared to the wheel, where the anatomical structures of the body is like the wheel rim and the heart is the hub, and all the nadis, the blood vessels, are connections from all parts of the body, just like the spokes connecting the rim and the hub. We can see that the Panchakosha Viveka is talked about here. Then the mantra says, having brought the focus from the Annamaya Kosha, the heart, which is the Pranamaya Kosha, move to the more subtler aspect, which is the Manomaya Kosha, or the mind. As per Shastras, Manas is in the heart. In the next slide, you see. Then with the mind, become more aware of Saha Eshaha, the consciousness principle, which is Bahudha Jayamana, which is continuously rising and falling. Consciousness is continuously rising and falling. In what form? Antaha charate. In the mind, consciousness is rising and falling in the form of varieties of sensory experiences, varieties of thoughts. Swami Paramarthananda supplies the word Anubhava Rupena. Vividha Anubhava Rupena Jayate. It appears and disappears. We know that Atma, the consciousness, never changes. Here, when it is said that the consciousness is rising and falling, what it means is that the Satchit Ananda Atma lends sentience to the body-mind complex, in specific mind in this case, that reflected consciousness, which is the consciousness which is associated with the reflecting medium, which is the subtle body, which is also called as Chidabhasa or Pratibimba Chaitanyam. Through this reflected consciousness, our mind uses the sense organs and comes in contact with the sense objects, which is the world itself. So anything other than us, in fact, anything other than the consciousness is considered as Anatma or the world, components of the world. So the mind, through the 5 sense organs, the 5 windows, which are Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha, comes in contact with the sense objects. As a result, varieties of thoughts are generated in the mind. So this is the Idam Vritti according to Ramana Maharshi. We have Idam Vritti, and aham vritti, our thoughts interacting with the world. Each thought is called as vritti. So when the mind contacts a sound, it arises shabda vritti. When a mosquito bites us, we get sparsha vritti, and so on. These thoughts or vrittis are the ones which appear and disappear. Sentience to the thought is by the consciousness principle, and therefore only when the consciousness and the thought join together, every thought will become an experience. So because of the Chaitanya Sambandha, thought is converted into an experience. But the problem is we focus more on the thought part but not on the Chaitanyam. You forget that behind the every experience, we have a sentient experiencer, which is the Chaitanya Atma, which is the very illuminator for that particular experience. This light of consciousness is in the mind. So Upanishad is guiding us to become more subtler and asking us to turn our attention from the illumined to the illuminator Chaitanyam by navigating through this changing thoughts to the changeless Atma. The next slide, you see. Om Ityevam Dhyayata Atmanam. May you turn your attention to this Atma and practice Nididhyasanam. Dhyayata means Nididhyasanam, which is the contemplative Vedantic meditation. Although any mantra may be used for Nididhyasanam, here Omkara is recommended for Nididhyasanam. By associating the consciousness with Omkara, one can meditate on Atma. Om, as we know, as Akara, Ukara, and Makara, which represents Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti Avastha respectively, and the silence is called as Amatra, and that represents the Atma Tattva. Of course, this is elaborately dealt in the Mandukya Upanishad, which will be dealt in the next series of classes. With the Atma Gnanam and with Omkara and Nididhyasanam, one can convert the spiritual knowledge into an emotional strength. All the limitations of the body, mind, and the world and its problems can be put into a perspective with Omkara Dhyanam. To get to this stage can take time. It can take a lot of efforts. So we need prayatna, which is the effort, and also the prasada, the grace of the God to obtain this transformation. So Upanishad says, Swastivaha, it is the blessing. It is blessing us. Upanishad is blessing us for this born voyage, for a successful spiritual journey. This journey should start earlier in our life than at the fag end, where the body faculties may not even cooperate. This spiritual journey helps us reach the shore. The word used is Paraya, meaning the shore of the Samsara Sagara, which is Tamasah Parastat, the ocean of the ignorance. So crossing across the ocean of the ignorance. So the distance between myself and my goal is not measured in the time or the space, but only by the level of Agnanam, the ignorance. The distance between the Jivatma and the goal Paramatma is the same distance between the wave and the ocean. Essential nature of both of them, of course, is the water. Hari Om, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Devakar. Every word of this mantra has been so beautifully explained, and therefore I have no work to do, but I will still do my own effort in trying to do this little exercise. Now I am speaking and you are listening. So my words are the experienced and you are the experiencer. Right now there is a silence, there is a gap. So I want you to become aware of the gap. I want you to become aware of the words, and I want you to become the experience of the experiencer. Swamiji has given an example of you are the chief at a Republic Day parade. So each time one battalion, one group of soldiers come, you salute, you acknowledge, and then there is a gap, you become observant. Now, every moment, every experience is that. I have an experience of something. Now I have experience of nothing, but I am the experiencer. Experiences come, experiences go. Can I log on to that experiencer and be that person? Is there some exercise that helps me to do that? And that is the meditation on Omkara. Omkara meditation is considered one of the most powerful forms of meditation. And one of the things that Omkara meditation gives is a tremendous amount of vairagya, a great sense of detachment from this body-mind and an identification with Atma. And that is why traditionally this meditation is given only to a sannyasi. And you must remember Mundakopanishad is a whole text given to a sannyasi. So you will see towards the end, there is something called Shruro Vrata. So a person who has made this commitment, and therefore this is the whole text is for a sannyasi only. Swamiji is giving it to us because he thinks we are all evolved and we are all mental sannyasis. Now we are now in that journey where we are going across, and we are crossing this river. We are crossing the ocean of samsara. And at this stage of the Upanishad, Swasti, may you be blessed. And the Upanishad is giving you a bless. Now I'm wishing you well on this spiritual journey. And here is this beautiful mantra where the Upanishad is blessing you on this spiritual journey. May you be blessed in all your sadhana. May all of us be blessed. May all of us hold hands with each other as we are going through this spiritual journey. And you will see this spiritual journey, you will see in this last mantra of today's class of the lower bird and the higher bird. Here, Dr. Divakar mentioned about the wave and the ocean. How long does it take for the lower bird to become the higher bird? How long does it take for the wave to decide that it is water? This instant, in this instant, you understand you are Atma Brahma. You are already that. And therefore, all that we need to do is, while in class we are convinced I am Atma Brahma, even after the class, each of these mantras are a reminder of Aham Brahma Asmi. So the next mantra will be explained by Dr. Vasumati. Dr. Vasumati, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Mantra number 7 goes like this. Yah sarvagnaha sarvavid yasya yesha mahima bhuvi divye brahmapure heshaha vyoman atma pratishtitaha. This mantra continues with the Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam, so is a Mahavakya mantra. The first line talks about the glory of Brahman, the Paramatma. The second line talks about the Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. Next slide, sir. What is that Paramatma or Brahman? Sarvagnaha Sarvavid Brahman. Yasya Esha Mahima Bhuvi. Not only Brahman is the omniscient creator of this world, Brahman happens to be the very material cause of the universe also. Therefore, Brahman alone has become the world. If Brahman himself has become the world becomes the manifestation of Brahman, and therefore, whatever glory is found in the world, all of them belong to Brahman. Upanishads say all of creation, from the smallest atom to the largest star, from the unicellular organism to the most complicated human being, whatever glories we experience in this creation, all of them belong to Brahman. Next slide, sir. Where is that Brahman located? Divye Brahmapure Keshaha Pratishtitaha. That Brahman, the cause of the universe, is this Jivatma, and it is very much within your body, located in your heart, which is the divine or sacred residence of Brahman. Why do we say Paramatma is installed in the heart? According to scripture, the physical heart is a location of the non-physical mind of a jiva. Within the mind, thoughts are there. Behind the thoughts, the consciousness is there, illumining the presence of the thoughts as well as the absence of thoughts, as the witness of every thought rising and setting. That consciousness is Brahman. We can compare our physical body to a temple, and the Panchakoshas are the prakaras, and the heart is the sanctum sanctorum. Within the heart, there is a small space called Hridayakasha, also called as the Harakasha, where the Atma is installed. Therefore, the all-pervading Lord is installed in the heart as consciousness, Chaitanya Rupena Pratishtitaha. Next slide, sir. Verse number 8 goes like this. Manomaya prana sharira neta pratishtito ne hrudayam sannidaya tad vignanena paripashyanti dhiraha anandarupam amrutam yad vibhati. Next slide, sir. The glory of Brahman is referred here as Manomayaha. Manomayaha is the name of Paramatma. Normally, Manomaya refers to one of the koshas, but in this mantra, it does not refer to a kosha. Manomaya here is the Sakshita Chaitanya Atma. Why is it that Atma is called Manomayaha? Paramatma is conditioned by or enclosed by the Manomaya, mind, just as the all-pervading space is enclosed within the temple. An enclosed space is useful for transactions, while unenclosed space is not useful. In the same way, unenclosed consciousness is Sarvagata Chaitanyam is not useful for Vyavahara. But the very same consciousness enclosed in the mind becomes Jivatma. Thus, unenclosed Atma is called Paramatma, enclosed Atma is called Jivatma. Next slide, sir. What does this consciousness do? Prana Sharira Neta. Prana Sharira means Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. We all know it consists of 17 organs, namely Panchakarmendriyas, Panchagnanendriyas, Panchaprana, mind and intellect. Most important of these is Prana. Since Prana is the most important part of Sukshma Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira gets the name Prana Shariram. Atma is called Sukshma Sharira Neta. It blesses the Sukshma Sharira, enlivens it, and makes it remain in this physical body during our life. Because of the blessing of the Atma, the Sukshma Sharira is also able to travel from one body to another. Atma only facilitates the travel. It does not decide the direction of travel. The direction is determined by the karma of the Sukshma Sharira. Since the Atma blesses the movement, it is called Sukshma Sharira Neta. Neta means carrier. Where is the Atma located? Anne Pratishtitaha. Annam here means Annamaya Kosha, that is the physical body. Atma is installed in the physical body as the very Jivatma, the consciousness. Hridayam Sannidaya, the heart is the sanctum in which the Atma is present as the witness consciousness. The teacher says, Dhiraha Paripashyanti. The qualified people, those people who have sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, in other words, those with mental purity, those mature people with gnana yogyata, recognize the Atma. How? Tad vignanena, through the eye of wisdom, by gaining the Atma Gnana through Gnana Chakshuhu, symbolically represented as the third eye. Next slide, sir. What is the nature of the Sakshmi Chaitanya or Atma? Ananda Rupam. It is of the nature of Ananda, which should be understood as Purna Swarupam, fullness, free from any limitation. Not only Purna, but it is also Amritam, eternal, without an end, Nityam. The word Ananda in this context should not be taken as experiential pleasure because any experiential pleasure is Anitya, while Ananda here is Nitya. Nitya Ananda is a matter of owning up that I am Purnaha. This knowledge alone is Nityananda. That which is gained in terms of knowledge is never lost in time. Whatever is gained in terms of experience is lost in time. So, Nityananda is got through knowledge alone. The knowledge that I was Purnaha, I am Purnaha, and I'll ever be Purnaha. Yad Vibhati, that Ananda, which is always, all the time available as the consciousness principle, and through the eye of understanding, dropping the notional limitation, is the attainment of Ananda. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vasumati, for another wonderful explanation. It is so nice when each person goes through this mantra, tries to understand the mantra and to explain, because when you do that, the essence of the mantra is revealed to you. What is this mantra saying? Ya sarva vid. Can you believe that I am all-knowing, that I am omnipotent and omniscient? Difficult to believe that. And that, I am within this body is that deity which is installed. The moment we wake up, we have to use our mind. And the mind has got all forms of limitations. And all our experiences is limited by the mind. And because of the limitations of the mind, there is a feeling of I am limited. The Upanishads declare that you are all-knowing, you are omniscient, you know everything, you are omnipotent, you are indeed divine. And Manomaya here means the Atma. Prana Sharira Neta, the one who decides everything what has to be done. It is installed in the body, it is installed in the heart. And wise people know. How do we know? Through Guru and Shastra. Although my experience is limitation, I have to, for the time being, go by the Guru and Shastra and saying that Atma Tattva is the real me. And when you understand that, then you experience Ananda here. It means Anantatvam. That means I am immortal, I am limitless. This is the declaration of the Upanishads. We have a beautiful mantra which will be explained by Dr. Anupama. Dr. Anupama, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We are doing now Mundakopanishad, mantra 229. Bhidyate hridaya granti, chidyante sarva samshayaha, kshiyante cha asya karmani, tasmin drishte paravare. This mantra is similar to Kathopanishad 2.3.15. Yada sarve prabhidyante hridayasya iha grantayaha atha martya amrita bhavati etavadahi anushasanam. Yama Dharmaraja concluded his teaching by saying these words, which mean when Brahman is clearly understood aparokshataya as I myself, the following three phalams are attained. First, hridaya granti bheda. All our kamas or desires are destroyed. Sarva samshaya vichhedaha. All doubts are eliminated. And sarva karma ksheyaha. All sanchita and agami karmas are destroyed. Let us understand and analyze them individually. Bhidyate hridaya granti. Here, hridaya means mind, which we know is located in the heart symbolically, and grantihi means a knot, literally. Here, hridaya grantaha refers to our desires, because our desires are comparable to a knot, being very similar in the sense that an old knot is as difficult to disentangle, and knots bind two different entities into one unit, just as our Atma and Anatma appear to be inseparably entangled. The cause of Hridaya Granthi is ignorance. Let's understand this ignorance, called Ajnanam. Ignorance of the self, or avidya, is a false sense of apurnatvam. It is anadi and abundant, from birth up to death for a majority of us. Our desires are born out of this self-ignorance, and they're nurtured by our vasanas. Very soon, we find ourselves engulfed in a mushrooming colony of avidya. If avidya is the mother, kama is the child, karma the grandchild, karma phalam the great-grandchild, and punarjanma the great-great-grandchild. We see that Brahma Jnanam alone puts an end to this list, which is Anadi and Anantam. Coming to Bhidyate Hridaya Granthi, here Bhidyate means Bhedam Ayati, or comes to destruction. Of what? Hridaya Granthi. The desires, kamas get destroyed, and this vicious cycle is destroyed by Brahma Jnanam. Chidyante Sarva Samshaya. Chidyante means getting snapped off or cut off. Sarva Samshaya means Sarva Jnaya Vishaya Samshaya. This means all our perennial doubts regarding everything that is worth knowing, called Jnayam or Paravidya, are snapped off with Brahma Aparoksha Jnanam. Adi Shankaracharya says, Ganga Sroto Vata Pravritta Vichedam Ayanti. With this Brahma Aparoksha Jnanam, Samshayaha regarding Sarva Jnaya Vishaya, which normally persist up to death for us, just like the perennial flow of Ganga, Ganga Sroto Vata, are all dispelled. Vichedam Ayanti. Kshiyanti cha asya karmani. Kshiyante means destroyed, and asya here refers to the jnani. Karmani is the sanchita and agami karmas. What about the prarabdha karmas? Prarabdha karmas are like a released arrow, unstoppable till the body dies. Mukta ishuvata, just like a released arrow cannot be stopped. Tasmin drishte paravare. Tasmin means that Brahma Jnana, which Dr. Vasumati just explained, described earlier as Sarvajna, Sarvavita, and so on, is here described as Paravare. Paramcha tat avaram. That Brahman, which is both superior and inferior. How so? Karana Atmana Param. Superior as the cause, and Karya Atmana Avaram, inferior as the effect. This just means Karya Karana Rupa Brahma. Drishte, when this Brahman is seen not physically as Brahma Darshanam, but Aparokshataya, as Sakshat Aham Asmi Iti Drishte. When Brahman is recognized as the self-evident consciousness, samsara is destroyed. And with samsara gone, all karmas, all samshayas, and all karmas are simultaneously dispelled. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for a very complete explanation of a mantra, which all of us should keep it in our mind. That means these are those mantras, even if you do not understand, let it be in your mind. Vidyate hridaya granthi, chindante sarva samshaya, kshiyanti chasya karmani, tasmin drishte paradari. So first, the mantra has to be in the mind. We have to memorize this. Then go word by word. Vidyate hridaya granthi. The ignorance in my heart is gone. Avidya kama karma. I'm born with that avidya. I'm born means what? The moment I wake up, I feel I am limited. But then now we have gone through spiritual knowledge. The moment we wake up, I experience limitations, but I know I am limitless. And because I know I am limitless, the next thing, chidyante sarva samshaya. What are the doubts we have? Now, the spiritual teachers say you are Brahman, but my experience is limited. Now I know I am Brahman. I have no doubts about myself. The world is not apart from me. It looks like it's different and the source of all my problems. Just like the dreamer and the dream, the world is not. The world is my own extension. Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara are three things. One Brahman has become Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. This doubt is also gone. And when this doubt is gone, that means once my avidya is gone, all my karmas are gone. I have no sanchita. Can you imagine what a gift Brahma Vidya has given us? That all our karmas are gone. That means as long as I work as a knowledgeable person, as I wake up, I know I'm not a limited being. Then I have no motive in any of my actions. I do not produce any more agami karma. So there is no agami, my sanchita is destroyed. My prarabdha is there. Let me acknowledge whatever I have to go through, I will go through. Now I have that vision of para, that the higher me and the apara, whatever I experience. Beautiful mantra. Let this mantra be our experience of Brahma, the fruit of all our sadhanas. Two more mantras to go. Ramaji will explain the next mantra. Ramaji, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Mundakopanishad, mantra 2.2.10. And the mantra says, Hiranmaye pare koshe virajam brahm ishkalam tachubhram jyotisham jyotihi tadyadatma vido viduhu. And the translation says, the pure, partless Brahman is encased, as it were, in the golden sheath of the intellect. This pure being is the light of all lights. It is known by those who have realized the self. The last three mantras, 9, 10, and 11 of this section summarize the Mahavakyam teaching already. This mantra describes the nature and Upalabdhi sthanam of Brahman being using Panchakosha Vivekaha, Neti Neti Prakriyaha, and Druk Drusha Vivekaha. Now we will see how Panchakosha Vivekaha Prakriya is used in the next slide. The mantra says, and the next slide, sir. The mantra says that Brahman or Paramatma is available in the Vijnanamaya Koshaha. This kosha is Hiranmayam and Param. Hiranmayam means the most effulgent as it reflects the consciousness. Therefore, with Chidabhasaha, the reflected consciousness, the intellect is bright, live, and sentient. The capacity to understand and comprehend makes the intellect radiant. Therefore, mantra terms Vijnanamaya Koshaha as Hiranmayam, brilliant, and Param, the innermost, sacred, or supreme, being closer to Atma. Kosha is a sheath as though covering the Atma like a scabbard covering the soul. This kosha is the Upalabdhi sthanam, the dwelling place of Brahman as consciousness available for recognition. The consciousness illuminates both the presence or absence of good and bad thoughts. It is reflected in the Vijnanamaya kosha. In the next slide, we see Neti Neti Prakriya. Brahman is Virajam, meaning Shuddham. That is bereft of Rajogunaha. Being sattvic, it is free from all impurities like avidya, kama, karma, maya, and malams like kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. Even though Brahman is permanently associated with Trigunatmika Maya, it is never influenced by it because it is in a higher reality. Therefore, Brahman is Nitya Shuddham, hence it is called Virajam. And the mantra says it is also Nishkalam. Kala is a part or a digit. Nirgataha Kalaha Yasmat is Nishkalam, meaning divisionless. Hence it is Niravayamam, unlike body-mind complex. Jivatma is totally identical with Brahman, but is neither different nor a part of Brahman. The mantra also says that Shubhram, that is, it is ever pure. The word Virajam puts purity as an absence of doshas, whereas Shubhram puts it positive. The significance of repetition is to emphasize that Brahman is not only free from impurities, but also cannot be contaminated. It is Nitya Shuddham. In the next slide, we see Druk Drusha Vivekaha. It is Jyotisham Jyotihi, the source of all effulgence, the source of effulgence for all lights, or the illuminator of all the luminaries. All sources of lights, sense organs, mind, words, and the consciousness are called light. Consciousness is the ultimate light because in its presence alone, things are revealed, and in its absence, nothing can be known. All the other lights are able to function because of the borrowed light from the conscious. Atma Vidaha. The next slide we see, it refers to Atma Pratyaya Sarinaha, the knowers of the self. Jivatma as the Paramatma. So Jivatma without Kartrutvam and Bhoktrutvam is Paramatma or Brahman. So both are identical. The self lends existence to everything experienced like the dreamer in the dream. In a dream, the self alone is the dreamer, the dream world, and their dream experiences. Applying the same to the Sakshi Chaitanyam, the witness consciousness, this entire universe is nothing but the self which lends existence, illuminating every experience. Viduhu, they realize that Brahman manifests as existence outside and as consciousness within the Atma. This is the answer for the question, by knowing what is everything known. This was raised by the well-qualified Adhikari Shaunaka to the teacher Brahmaji. This mantra explains Aikyam of Jivatma and Paramatma, the essence of Mahavakyam. The next two mantras describe the self-luminous nature of Brahman and experience of Sarvatra Brahma Darshanam. Hari Om. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Ramaji, for another explanation, wonderful explanation of the teacher is saying the same thing in so many different ways, using different and poetic language. Hiranmaye pare poshe, Virajam. The real me is Hiranmaye, glistening. Virajam, free from all impurities. Nishkalam has got no parts like space. Shubram, that which cannot be contaminated. And another very beautiful word in the Upanishads is Jyotisham Jyoti. It is the light of all lights. This has been told to us by the knowers of the earth. And so there are people who have known, and all our teachers are those who have known, and we will go by what people have experienced and told us. The next mantra will be explained to us by Mamta. Mamta, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The mantra 2.2.12 of Mundakopanishad is a profound and concluding mantra of the second section, which reveals the climax of Vedantic teaching, that is, the Advaita philosophy. In the next slide, the previous shloka 2.2.11, Natatra Suryo Bhati, reveals that I, the higher nature of every individual, the all-pervading Atma or Brahman, the consciousness principle, is the illuminator or knower of everything, and everything, that is the body, mind, thoughts, and the world, is illumined or known because of I, the Atma or the pure consciousness. Hence, Atma can never be the object to be known. It is ever the observer, the subject. Therefore, I, my higher nature, am the Atma. Everything else is Anatma, or the matter, which is what will be the general understanding. And this can make us think we are in Dvaita, that is duality. However, this would be contradicting the Advaita philosophy, which proclaims non-duality, which means everything is God, that is the all-pervading Atma or Brahman. In the next slide, to understand it better, we have to look at the concept of Karanam Karyam, or the cause-effect in Vedanta. That is, I, the knower or illuminator of the world, the pure consciousness, is Karanam or the cause. Everything else in the world is Karyam or the effect. Swamiji says, Karyam, the effect is ETU, that is, it has experienceability, transactability, and utility, etc. But the effect does not have an existence separate from Karanam, the cause. In the next slide, to understand the concept better, let us look at the clay pot example. That is, the clay cannot be used for fetching water. Pot alone can be used for fetching. Therefore, pot has utility and we experience the pot. It is useful and transactable also. Even though pot has got all this, that is ETU, we cannot count pot as a separate entity than the clay, because pot cannot exist without the clay. In other words, pot does not have a separate existence from the clay. We do accept ETU of the pot, but we will not count pot as a separate thing. Only thing available is clay and clay alone. Similarly, extending the analogy to the existing world, Vedanta says world has got ETU, that is experienceability, transactability, and utility. However, does not have the sustainability on its own. The original substance behind the entire world is nothing but the Karanam Brahman, or I, the Atma, or consciousness principle. Just like the clay appears as different pots for ETU, I, the Atma or Brahman, appear as existent world with various names and forms, or Nama and Rupa. Let us look at another example as discussed by Swamiji, the waker dreamer example, to get a clearer picture. Just as the waker or an individual creates a dream world with various things and thoughts and is the dreamer or the observer of the dream, I, the consciousness or Brahman, the observer alone, creates or appear as the world with different names and forms. In the next slide, that means I, the Brahman, the cause or Karanam for everything, appear as the world which is the effect or Karyam. In other words, that which appears as various names and forms is only Brahman, which is without names and forms. Hence, there is no world separate from Brahman. Therefore, Upanishad concludes, Brahman is the only absolute reality. Atma, Anatma duality is not there. We keep the pot in the hand and say, this is also clay. We keep the lid and say, this is also clay. Similarly, everything in the universe is Brahman. Now, looking at this shloka or the mantra which conveys this message, the next slide, sir. Brahmaivedam amritam purastad, Brahma paschad, Brahma dakshinata schottarena, adhashchod cha prasritam, Brahmaivedam vishwamidam varishtam. So the literal meaning is, this eternal Brahman alone is before, is behind, is to the right and to the left, is spread above and below. In fact, the supreme Brahman alone appears as the whole universe. Brahmai Veda Vishwamidam Varishtam. Corresponding Gita shloka, that is 4.24, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, and so on, conveys a similar message. In the next slide, in conclusion, the Gnani who has realized Brahman will discover, I alone am the subject Brahman. I, the Brahman alone, am the object. Everything in the universe are my manifestations. Aham eva sarvam. Gnani remembers this all the time and remains unaffected. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Mamta, for a nice explanation of a very similar mantra to Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam. Every time we have our meals, make this prayer. And let the meaning of the prayer be what this mantra says, that whatever I experience is Brahman. So in front of me, behind me, to my right, to my left, to above and below, all around me. Everything is Brahman and Brahman alone. This whole world and this Brahman has come out of me. It is an extension of me. So the world is not apart from me. I therefore don't see the world as anatma. I don't see the world as not me. And these ideas are the ones that can transform our outlook to the entire world. We come to the last mantra for today, and that will be explained to us by Neeta. Neeta, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Upanishad in this mantra is summarizing the Jivatma Paramatma relationship by using a unique analogy of two birds sitting on a tree. The mantra goes, Atha Tritiya Mundake Prathama Khandaha Dvaswaparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samanam Riksham Parishaswajate Tayoranyaf Pipalam Swadvati Anashnananyo Abhijakashiti. There are two birds, the lower bird and the higher bird. The next slide. They are bright and shining, Dwa Soparna. They are inseparable companions, Sayuja Sakhaya. And they are perched on the same tree, Samanam Riksham Parishas Swajati. Of the two birds, the lower bird is hopping around, pecking and eating the sweet and the bitter fruits, Pipalam Swadatti. The higher bird simply is witnessing, uninvolved, and is not eating. Next slide. That's it. This is the cryptic sutra mantra, allowing us for much elaboration and expansion. The scenario portrayed in the mantra pretty much describes the Vedantic teachings and our spiritual journey. This mantra is often quoted by Adi Shankaracharya and other gurus also. To understand this message, we have to view some of the fundamental Vedantic teachings based on Tattva Bodha. Every individual consists of 5 components: the physical body, the Sthula Shariram, the second is the Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body, which includes, which is also called as the Antakaranam, the mind, the intellect, the 5 pranas, the 5 karmendriyas, and the 5 jnanendriyas. Then third one is the causal body, which is the Karana Sharira. And the 3 bodies are made up of matter. They are Achetanam and Jada. Same thing. But they appear sentient. Why? Because they have this unique subtleness which allows them to borrow or reflect consciousness. This reflected consciousness is the 4th component of the individual. It's called reflected consciousness. Together, for this verse, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th are taken as Ahankara. The lower bird represents Ahankara. Therefore, although the 3 body, the 5th component is the original consciousness or the Sakshi principle. The higher bird represents the Sakshi. Next slide. Now, with this background, we will look at all the similarities between the 5 components and the picture given in the mantra. The tree in the mantra is the physical body. The tree, like the physical body, starts as a seed, grows into a plant, and then blossoms to a full tree. We experience it and we can see it. As years pass by, it becomes weak and fragile. The tree, like the body, perishes. The lower bird represents the incidental and acquired nature, the ahankara, consisting of the subtle body, the causal body, and the borrowed consciousness. We just understood that. The lower body can move from one tree to another tree. Similarly, this ahankara or jivatma moves from one body after the death and goes to another body. The lower body, like ahankara, is karta. The lower bird, like ahankara, is a karta, a bhokta, eating the sweet and bitter fruit, subject to samsara, at the mercy of its desires, happy, unhappy, all according to its experiences. The higher bird now is indicating the Sakshi Chaitanyam. The higher bird is not a part, product, or property of the tree. It is like the original consciousness. It is just like the original consciousness is not a part, product, property of the body. It is not limited by the boundaries of the tree. The higher bird is independent entity which is all pervading. Hence, it is on the tree also. Anything that happens to the tree does not affect the higher bird, Sakshi. It is a karta, a bhokta, calm, uninvolved, simply watching. It is always free. Note, the 2 birds do not represent 2 different individuals, but rather they are the same individuals. Anupama ma'am also explained in her verse, and Mamta ji also said that the world and Brahman are one. That's why they are inseparable in this example, Sayuja. Next slide. Ahankara is my incidental, my mithya nature, and consciousness is my intrinsic real nature. My ahankara, like the lower bird, is a mirror imagery. It is an upadhi born out of maya. It is a superimposition on that one reality, the higher bird. We are struggling with that which is not there, that which is not so real but appears so real. What I own up to is my choice. The unwise own up to the inferior nature and go through the delusion, sorrow, and the helplessness like the lower bird. Now, the whole of Atmanyanam is shifting the reference of I, what I claim myself as. From I am Ahankara, backed by Sakshi, to I am Sakshi, functioning through the Ahankara. I am Sakshi, functioning through the Ahankara. This is a great Nididhyasanam verse. Next slide. There is a physical distance between the two birds, but in the case of Ahankara and original consciousness, we intellectually have to segregate. But seeing the two birds as separate in the example allows us to distinctly discriminate Atma from Anatma. The metaphor also encapsulates our lives and our spiritual progress. The lower bird tries to come closer to the higher bird, but then gets distracted by another ripe fruit. Same way, we are completely involved in samsara and procrastinate our self-discovery. Directly, the lower bird cannot see itself as the higher bird. We also cannot see ourselves as that Brahman. We need a systematic study Atmanyanam with the help of a guru and shastra. Hari Om, Shri Guru Namaha.
Thank you very much, Neeta, for a nice explanation of this concluding mantra in our revision. This is a nice way to conclude our revision of all the important mantras, because here is a great take-home message. Our body is the tree, and in this tree, there are two birds. These two birds are two aspects about myself. There is a lower me, which is the body-mind complex, and the higher me, that is the Atma. The moment I wake up, because of my mind, I experience a lot of limitations. But now I know I am Atma Brahma. How long does it take for a wife to become a woman? This is the question Swami Anubhavananda asks all the time. How long does it take for the lower bird to see that it is none other than the higher bird? The moment we take that decision, I am Atma Brahma, play the role of this limited body mind. This is the essence of all spirituality. Know that we are not human beings having an occasional spiritual experience, but spiritual beings. I am Atma Brahma, playing the limited role of man, woman, young, old, doctor, patient. Play your drama in this world 100%, but all the time be anchored in the fact that for the time being, as long as prarabdha karma is there, I have to play this role. I am not the role. I am Atma Brahma. My spiritual journey is complete. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
With this, we have come to an end of the session. We are grateful to Hegde sir and all speakers of the day for a wonderful session. Thank you all, friends, for your active participation in this divine journey. On coming Monday, 20th May, let us tune in for Gift Session 27. Now, it's time to conclude the session with Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you.